She's sleeping, but I'm still gonna share her with you because look how beautiful she is. She looks a bit scared. She doesn't like, wait, people, wait, to take her. Look at her. She just doesn't want to. Why are you so? Hello, my beautiful stars. Bonjour, ni hao, guten tag, guten morgen, wanshan hao, zaoshan hao, and wherever you can think about. I'm happy to see you here. And let's talk about something in China that attracted my attention. Let's put it this way. Because I spent there 5 years and it mostly was studying and even trying a little bit to work in the Chinese work environment. And of course, those years definitely let me look behind the curtain of some things, especially when it comes to not just, being an expert in China and living in your own separate bubble, even, not talking to other Chinese, just being among other expats and all that stuff, because it was an absolutely different experience when you immerse yourself. You just throw yourself into that whirlpool of different stuff, and you do notice some small details. And let's talk about criticizing. So apparently I am a very critical person. It seems like if you ask my parents, if you ask my friends, they will notice that, right? They will say, yeah, that girl likes to criticize a lot. She's like this tiger mom or whatever. And yeah, I don't know why. And then I started thinking that maybe it's actually impact of China. By the way, do you see that beautiful star? I've been cat sitting this very beautiful goddess and she decided to listen about China. Ooh la la. If you think that it doesn't matter, like, why is she talking about China? I'm not interested in this topic. Well, you better be, because it's an important player in the world arena. But yes, so one of the things I noticed in the culture that I would like to share with you is criticizing. And I actually think that it impacted me, because once you live in a certain environment for a long period of time, of course you get used to their mindset. And especially I would say that Ukrainians in mindset are very similar to Asians, especially Chinese people. And yes, I think criticizing, definitely, maybe I was a critical person, but I do think that China made me even more like that. And you can call it criticizing, but you can also call it, judging or assessing things. Because why do you need to assess everything? First of all, let's look at the language itself. It's a very logical language. There are strokes, there are millions of characters, you need to know them, and I think it already makes your brain work in a different way, unlike when you have an alphabet, for example, and something is limited. But it's also about the scope. The country is big, the population is huge, and the competition is very high. Yes, competition is something I will always mention when I'm talking about China, because competition is basically the essence of the society. There are so many people that to get maybe the most basic things, for example, in North America, getting something in the store, something that is popular or wherever. In China, you have to probably put in much more effort for those things and, work much harder. That's when you start appreciating every small thing, right? And that's when you start being more judgmental and assessing the world and the environment around you more precisely, because this basically decides your future, right? And of course, another aspect is when you speak the local language. But then in subway, for example, I could hear how some school girls were literally just discussing, of course they were probably thinking that I couldn't understand what they were talking, but once you get the language, you actually discover even much more things. And of course, for example, you just randomly take a subway and then this school girl group is discussing like your appearance, your nose and everything. Sometimes these may be positive things, of course, if you are a foreigner in China, but sometimes there may be like that less maybe nice things or less pleasant ones, and that makes sense. We all sometimes discuss, we all sometimes judge, and that's absolutely fine. But for example, I remember, there are different periods in life, and there was one when, of course, I was under a lot of academic pressure. I think everyone who actually experienced the academic pressure, I'm talking about when you have to actually write a paper or something like that. And also, there was COVID, and and your friends, those very not many actually foreign school friends who left China couldn't come back due to COVID, and all those things, they of course sometimes impact how you feel and everything. And I remember I was going there to a dancing school for some period of time, and yeah, sometimes I may be worried because you come alone in the new surrounding, and then you challenge yourself, because I think when I was living there, I tried to try as many new things as possible, and throw myself into something that would be rather challenging. And I remember when those women were like, they saw that I was probably worried, and they said, 肯定有时教恐惧症. If you get it, you get it. That was like a little bit rude, but yeah, you can very vividly see the critique, I would say, in school or in university, because I think there is this like unwritten rule basically that when the teachers discuss your results or your work, if it's like your supervisor and a close person, they would most likely will never praise you. They will just say that there is space for improvement, and basically no matter how much you try, there's always a space for improvement. And I would say it's also always very nice. It it encourages you to be a better version of yourself. But at the same time, sometimes when you're already under a lot of pressure and you seem to put a lot of effort, and then you are constantly like told that there's space for improvement, yeah, it's a good word, but blah blah blah, of course eventually it can make you feel a little bit too stressed, because I would say putting in a lot of effort on a regular basis but still not being able to see those very more pleasant results or even words of encouragement, sometimes it is a little bit encouraging. And I'm not saying that it's always the case. I'm just giving small examples, because it's not generalization, and it doesn't mean that, for example, my supervisor didn't praise me, because I'm actually very grateful. She bared with me as a foreign student who came to study with Chinese students who apparently have absolutely different type of preparation, right? They went to Chinese school, they memorized also all those ancient texts, and then a person with absolutely different background comes and wants to study together with them, and she accepted and encouraged and supported me, and for that I am boundlessly grateful to her, and just hope that she'll be recognized for all that hard work she's putting in, and the way she supported students. That's very nice. But here is another thing. I think when it comes to just being a woman, it's in general the case, is because I would say both in China and in Ukraine, people are rather judgmental towards appearance. That's why you may see that Ukrainian girls are known to dress up wherever they go, throw in litter, throw in rubbish, going to buy some bread, and like those, of course, stereotypes. For example, in my circle, I actually have friends with their own distinctive styles, very unique and very beautiful. But it is a stereotype, and there is a grain of truth in that as well, because I do think that in China and in Ukraine, people tend to judge appearance a little bit more stricter. I mean, North America is also like that, but I would say in these two previous cultures I previously mentioned, is that it may be to the point that you just can walk and people, will discuss. And I do want to say that after I came to Canada, I did feel less pressure in just my existence. Let's not talk about looking for a job when you don't have one. That is a lot of pressure, but just less pressure, because some people here might go outside in pajamas and all that stuff. But it also exists in China, just not in downtown. And of course, I would say Chinese girls do take a lot of care in terms of their appearance. And but I guess it's just the whole thing. Of course, we also cannot compare the cities, like Shanghai with 26 million people, and Toronto with like core area, I guess, like 3-4 million. So if you actually look at the numbers, you may understand, okay, there probably is sense in that, right? Because it's like absolutely different scale. Guys, what do you think about that competition, about criticizing, about pressure in life, how to cope with it? Please leave your comments. Please tell me if you experience similar, especially if you live in the society, and how you cope with that, or how you react to that. I'm curious about anything you're gonna share. See you next time. She's sleeping, but I'm still gonna share her with you because look how beautiful she is. She looks a bit scared. She doesn't like, wait, people, wait, to take her. Look at her. She just doesn't want to. Why are you so? Okay, whatever. Don't want her to suffer. But look at this beautiful tail.